No one imagined the truth would enter that courtroom wearing designer heels and carrying a worn leather-bound planner. Everyone thought they were watching a typical celebrity trial. But what unfolded was far more disturbing. The precise and unstoppable collapse of a powerful empire, exposed not by evidence alone but by memory, silence, and the bravery of voices long ignored. It didn't start with a headline. It started with a whisper. And one by one, those whispers became a storm. The courtroom was quiet, unnervingly so, as the judge read out a name that had not appeared on any public witness list: Kim Kardashian. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The sound of pens stopped. Eyes locked in disbelief. Reporters stared at each other, stunned. Even Diddy, who had seemed unbothered up to that point, twitched. A single long blink that revealed the weight of what had just happened. In that single moment, this trial transformed from a courtroom drama into something deeper, darker, and far more real. The mention of Kim's name was not just a twist, it was a signal. A line had been crossed, and the case was no longer about rumors or gossip. It was now about systems, protection, secrets, and power. Flashback. Backstage at the 2016 Iconic Sound Awards. Kim Kardashian had shown up for a brief appearance. A photo, a speech, a handshake. But something about that night unsettled her. She was told Diddy wanted to say hello. A harmless industry interaction, she thought. But as she walked down the hallway toward the backstage area, the air felt heavier than usual. Too quiet, too still. Something wasn't right. He stood waiting, smiling, but not warmly. "Some of us," he said quietly, "know when to disappear." She didn't respond. She didn't need to. She left. She never spoke of it again, not until now. Her statement submitted to the court didn't accuse. It simply recalled, "I knew I had to go." Those 6 words shook the foundation of the case because sometimes truth isn't screamed, it's whispered. Then came the image. Leaked from an unknown source, it captured Kim mid-turn, Diddy standing uncomfortably close behind her. Her arms were folded, her head slightly turned, eyes hidden. It wasn't a photo of violence, it wasn't dramatic. It was far more powerful. It was real. The caption went viral. "I knew I had to go." This wasn't about optics anymore. It was about survival. And suddenly, the world started listening in a new way. This wasn't tabloid fodder. This was something darker, deeper. The courtroom began to transform from a place of legal procedure to a place of emotional reckoning. On the 4th day, the courtroom witnessed something it would never forget. Gwen Stefani entered, escorted by federal marshals. No announcement, no press, just presence. In her hands, wrapped in black velvet, was something deeply personal. She took the stand, her hands slightly shaking as she unwrapped the fabric. Inside was an old leather planner, aged, marked, and full of secrets. "This belonged to one of my stylists," she said. She vanished, just stopped showing up. And a few weeks later, I found this in a box. I didn't know what it was at first. But after hearing the testimonies in this trial, I went back and opened it. What she revealed wasn't just a planner. It was a map, a warning, a living journal filled with names, dates, emotional descriptions, and repeatedly, one term. Room 7C, one note written in red ink read, "He always smiles when they scream." This was no longer speculation. Camille, another witness, confirmed that one of the names in the planner matched a person referenced by Ariana Grande. Surveillance footage showed a man standing in the background at multiple events. Always there. Always near Diddy, but never speaking, never identified. The court named him the architect. He wasn't just a person. He was a structure, the symbol of silence, the executor of control. What emerged was that Room 7C wasn't simply a location. It was a system, a procedure, a tool for eliminating problems, the kind that asked questions or came too close to the truth. Then came the digital proof. Mark Landon, a cybersecurity expert, took the stand with a chilling presentation. He had recovered fragments of a destroyed server linked to Diddy's business network. The files he decrypted revealed a live dashboard once used to track celebrities and associates. Each person was tagged: dormant, at risk, contained, or cleared. The latter meaning reputation ruined, silenced, or removed. Among those listed were Gwen Stefani and Ariana Grande. One file read, GS opened planner. Initiate strategy B. If necessary, burn. The implication was clear. They knew Gwen had it. They just didn't expect her to speak. Then came Maya Rosario. Not a celebrity, not a known figure, just a sister, the sister of Nia, the stylist who disappeared. Maya walked to the stand slowly, clutching a silver voice recorder. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. My sister didn't run away, she was silenced. She pressed play. Nia's voice filled the courtroom. If you're hearing this, I'm either gone or close to it. They moved me. They watched. They told me I was unstable. I wasn't. I just told Ariana the truth. I told Gwen I wasn't okay, and now I'm a problem. The room was paralyzed. Ariana's eyes filled with tears. Gwen looked down, shaking her head. The recording ended with one final line. Don't let them say I broke. I just refused to stay silent. With the planner authenticated, the voices heard, and the data decrypted, the case was complete. The prosecution didn't shout. They didn't dramatize, they simply showed the truth, piece by piece. The final witness, a former medical employee, testified remotely, face hidden, voice steady. I worked inside room 7C. My job was to sedate guests. I was told it was for their safety. It wasn't, it was to keep them quiet. She mentioned Nia, how she cried, how she begged to call someone, how she was given a double dose and told to sleep. The jury didn't flinch. They didn't need more. The story didn't end with the trial. It began there. A fund was created in Nia's name. Artists severed ties with Diddy's label. A movement erupted online. Jack burned the blueprint. And when asked what comes next, Ariana said, "We break every room like 7C, one by one, until there are none left." Because room 7C wasn't a place. It was a blueprint for silence, and now it had been burned. The courtroom may have delivered its final verdict, but the echoes of that trial would ripple far beyond any gavel's fall. The system had been exposed, its machinery dismantled before the eyes of a stunned public. But exposure wasn't justice in itself. It was merely the beginning of a larger war, one fought not in courtrooms, but in culture, in contracts, in silence broken by courage. Within days of the verdict, the entertainment world cracked wide open. Major streaming platforms began pulling content connected to Diddy's label. Award shows scrambled to rewrite legacy honors. Collaborations were dropped. Silent partners turned vocal. Influencers, once hushed by fear or NDAs, began speaking out. The planner had started a fire, one page at a time, and now that blaze consumed a structure built on manipulation, control, and isolation. Gwen Stefani didn't return to her usual spotlight. Instead, she stepped into a quieter kind of power. With Maya Rosario and Ariana Grande by her side, she launched the Rosario Foundation, a survivor-led nonprofit that offered legal aid, therapy, and protective services to people within the gear entertainment industry who had suffered similar abuse. They didn't ask for headlines, they asked for healing. The foundation's first public initiative was called Project 7C. Its goal? To identify and dismantle other known isolation protocols operating behind labels, PR firms, and management groups. Within months, whistleblowers submitted dossiers from 3 major companies, all of which began federal investigations. No one had imagined the trial would open such doors, but now that they were open, sunlight flooded in. Dark places don't survive sunlight. Maya became a speaker. Her soft-spoken pain transformed into powerful clarity. At colleges, survivor summits, and music academies, she repeated the phrase that had ended her courtroom testimony. She told the truth. Now, so do. How the tape of Nia's voice was played not for spectacle, but for education. Young artists learned not just how to navigate fame, but how to recognize systems designed to exploit it. And Ariana? She turned down her next tour. She wrote no new songs that year. Instead, she spent months quietly building a team of reformers, attorneys, ex-security specialists, investigative journalists. Together, they formed what would become a groundbreaking task force, the Cultural Integrity Council. Designed to audit, expose, and pressure institutions hiding systemic abuse, it didn't rely on media headlines. It relied on internal leaks, tech audits, survivor accounts, and an ironclad shield of public support. Within the first year, they helped over 200 former employees across music and media file for reparations or protection. The public shift was undeniable. The phrase 7C became more than a location. It became a cautionary symbol. At award shows, you'd see pins, small brass, numbers worn by artists, managers, and even producers who stood with survivors. Articles stopped calling them alleged victims and started calling them by name. Silence became guilt. Speaking out became strength. Former executives were questioned. PR agents were subpoenaed. The architect? Still unnamed. Still hiding. But rumors suggested that 4 different countries had quietly launched person of interest files. The machine may have lost its head, but the spine of its operations was collapsing in real time. Meanwhile, Kim Kardashian, whose early statement had shocked the public into attention, did something few expected. She funded a digital museum project. Archives of Silence, it was called. It stored scanned versions of Gwen's planner, anonymized, court documents, and timelines that mapped abuse systems in the entertainment world. The project's mission was simple: never let people forget. Because forgetting is how these systems survive, and they weren't forgotten. The trial was adapted into documentaries, public forums, and school case studies. Law firms began rewriting how NDAs could be enforced. Contracts changed. No longer could artists be sequestered, sedated, or silenced without trace. Room 7C, once a whisper, now echoed through every hallway where exploitation had once lived. People started asking questions earlier. Survivors were believed faster. And most importantly, no one felt truly alone in their story. Ariana's final public statement that year wasn't given at a press conference. It was a note shared via social media. A photo of Nia, Gwen, and Maya, unfiltered, unposed, holding hands. The caption read, "We were never meant to survive this, but we did. Now let's make sure no one has to survive it again." Below, in smaller print, Room 7C is closed forever. But what it symbolized, that would always be remembered, and from the ruins of that silence, a new sound began, clear, unwavering, and impossible to ignore. Truth.